2005 Porsche Cayenne Turbo. Why are we checking this out? Because when Tony pulled out the Cayenne for Carmela, she started to flip out. And maybe you should be flipping out too. So that's why we're here to check it out. No, but seriously, this is a 150,000 mile Porsche Cayenne turbo model. I just want to know what it's all about, because this is the vehicle that essentially saved Porsche. That's why it exists today. But who do we have to thank for this opportunity? It is none other than European Performance in Raleigh, Cary, North Carolina. If you're interested in purchasing this product, well, you may do so. It costs about $15,900, and European Performance is a Porsche specialist, so you can absolutely service this vehicle with them as well. Some of the key little issues I think that commonly goes wrong with these vehicles is like the fuel pump, little coolant leak, and some drive shaft issues, I believe. But other than that, these actually hold up remarkably well. With that established, let's go ahead and let's get this thing out on the road. But before we do, first of all, let's talk about the looks. This vehicle is so ugly that I think it looks good now. I mean, this is seriously a grotesque looking automobile, but I kind of like it. And it has some presence out on the road. You know, every time I see these things, I mean, it certainly doesn't look like anything else, that's for sure. And I think at its highest setting, right, because these things have air suspension on them as standard, because it's a turbo model, these things can sit as high as 10.25 inches. So that's pretty crazy. And as you would expect, power is not an issue here, but more on that later. I'd be very curious to hear your thoughts on the looks and the appearance of this vehicle. So leave that down below and let's go ahead and let's get started with this drive. All right, twin turbo V8, that's the highlight here, and that's why you want this thing. It doesn't quite have ballistic levels of acceleration like you might see with some of today's modern vehicles, okay? And that's because, well, you got yourself a Tiptronic 6-speed automatic transmission. And what does that mean? Well, it's on a PDK, so it's not the super snappy type of gear shifts like you might expect. And that's why this thing does 0 to 60 in about 5.5 seconds, which is not bad for a vehicle that weighs about 5,200 pounds. And it has legitimate towing capacities as well. So that's, I think, the beauty of the Cayenne. It's such a nice all-rounder. You know, if you're trying to trailer your Porsche 911 GT3 race car to the track, well, you don't have to go and get a meager pickup truck. You can actually stay within the Porsche brand and get yourself a Cayenne like this and tow with this vehicle. And this motor produces 450 horsepower and about 457 pounds-feet of torque. Premium fuel, absolutely. Especially on an older vehicle like this with a lot more mileage. And you know what? Higher speeds is like, you don't even notice that you're doing it. And that's one of the things. I've driven basically every generation of the Cayenne except for this older one. That's why I really want to check it out. I don't even know what to call it. Just like the effortlessness in the way that the Cayenne kind of goes about its business, dude. You can be doing 10, 20 miles over the speed limit, not even know about it. And I'm glad to see that this early generation Cayenne also has that same characteristic. It's smooth, it's quiet. It does not have double pane glass, but it is a rather thick piece of glass being used here. And it is a very quiet and serene experience. And you have 19-inch wheels on here with 255 wide tires in all four corners. It's the all-wheel drive, of course. That's just how they make them. And as I mentioned, you get air suspension as standard with the turbo models of the Cayenne. And fortunately, everything works in here. This is a pristine model. You wouldn't even know that this thing has 150K on it. They hold up like a Lexus product. It is bank vault solid in here. And let's go ahead and we currently have this thing in the sport mode right now. I actually lowered the vehicle to the second lowest setting because, like I mentioned, it's like 10.25 inches at its highest setting in terms of ground clearance, and that's just insane. We don't need that. Yeah, as far as SUVs go, this is definitely well done. Brakes, you definitely have to get in on them a little bit, but it will stop. Don't worry about that. And just the effortless power that this thing has. It's not loud, it's not brash, it doesn't have a bunch of weird pops and bangs or anything like that. It's just smooth power delivery, effortless power delivery. And this type of acceleration and thrust is absolutely something you can enjoy out on the street. It's definitely deserving of a luxury vehicle, if you will. The Cayenne is rather slept upon. They always defy physics. These things handle a lot better than is really possible for a vehicle of its size and nature and of its vintage, right? This is not some brand new vehicle. This is a 16-year-old Porsche. You wouldn't be able to tell with the way that it pulls, the way that it drives, stops, handles. It's got a great dynamic to it, and the ride quality is excellent as well. And off-roading wise, these things can really tackle a lot of different obstacles. So as an engineering feat, this is something that they should be proud of even till this day. And I mean, it just goes to show, I mean, like today's Cayennes, it's just a little bit more refined than this. That's about it. And you have a more snappier PDK, but really the essence, even in the newer Cayennes, is actually very similar to this. I think we pretty much established that driving wise, this is exceptional, and it's I can see why they cost like 6 figures plus. It's well deserved. It's one of the few kind of expensive vehicles that I can actually justify, and you know, as a used product, potentially even with a warranty or servicing it at a place like European Performance, I think even ownership should be within the realms of affordability. Let's go ahead and let's transition over into this interior and let's see what that's all about. Now that we are stopped, let's go ahead and let's talk about this interior. The next best thing about this will be how this interior has aged for the most part. I mean, there's a few little crunchy bits here and there, but that's to be expected, and that's fine. I forgive it for a vehicle of this age and mileage. As a whole, the build quality in here, like the center stack, I think this has got to be the most solid built center stack I have ever experienced in a new or a used vehicle. Okay, that's just how well built this whole center console is right here. I mean, there is nothing that's moving here or shaking, so that's impressive. Now you have a few other things like this armrest, which can shake a little bit, but for the most part, the way they age, it's not like you're sitting in some tin can piece of shit. Okay, this is like a well-built vehicle that's deserving of its original price tag. That's why I like these things. I really like their gauge cluster design. It still looks modern today. You have a little center screen here as well, just a small one, just to show you some basic information like your remaining mileage, your compass, your gears, right, like which gear you're in, as well as the odometer and the speedometer, of course. That's also electronically shown and looks great. I really appreciate it. Everything is functional in here. There's no stupid check engine lights, nothing like that. You have this early generation screen here, which is not a touch screen. You actually have to kind of use some of these buttons here. Get yourself heated seats in the front and the rear seats. You only have one touch up and down windows for the 2 front windows here, not for the rear, which is unfortunate for a vehicle of this stature. The steering wheel looks a little weird, but it's a nice thing to grip onto. It's not my favorite shape, okay, the way they have like this whole triangle thing going on. You actually have to physically put the key in there. You got automatic headlights. Visibility is excellent, easy to drive, easy to place on the road, and that's what I like about this. That's part of the reason why it's so enjoyable. It inspires confidence, essentially, from its dynamics to the visibility. And seating comfort is also supreme. Okay, the leather has aged really well. It's really soft and supple. And the comfort of these seats far exceeds something like BMW. So people always want to compare Porsche to BMW. Honestly, the key differences and the reason why you pay up for a Porsche is for the interior quality. And that really translates into the seats as well, because a lot of the BMWs I've tried out, they have like these rock hard seats and they don't age as well as this. So again, that's why I really like Porsche out of all the German vehicles. And then something like a Mercedes S-Class, which is, you know, a totally different vehicle, right? I really appreciate this suede headliner. Whoever owned this vehicle before really took excellent care of this vehicle, because the only bit of wear on this suede is around here near the driver's side seatbelt area. But other than that, this is really great. And stuff like this, like a suede headliner, actually helps to quiet the vehicle down. So Lexus does something similar to this in the LS models. Your all-wheel drive controls, your suspension settings are right here. You got 2 little cup holders here, not super large. Center console space is decent, as well as the door pocket space in the glove box is okay. As far as the rear seating is concerned, I mean, it's not a whole lot of space. Definitely the newer Cayennes have way more space, but people who are used to Range Rover products, this is going to be pretty good. Getting in and out is rather easy, and again, the leather has aged exceptionally well, almost like no real wear to report. And you can absolutely fold down those seats 60-40 and you will have a ton of space in here, because the trunk alone with the seats up, massive. And this is a 5-seater, okay, this is not a 3-row vehicle, and that's fine, but the trunk space is excellent. You got yourself a little skinny spare back there as well. And there you go. I mean, that's a look at the Cayenne, okay, the 05, the OG, okay, the one that saved the company, the one that Carmela Soprano loved to whip around, right? I mean, this car pretty much saved their marriage, right? Anyway, well done, solid automobile. Go ahead, I would say pull the trigger on something like this. Is a well-maintained example. This has a driving dynamic that rivals even the newest cars. The one other thing that I could potentially mention is when you're stationary like this and you move the steering wheel, you might sense a bit of vibration. That's actually normal for 4x4 vehicles like this, or all-wheel drive vehicles like this in the early generations, because things like this, the Land Rovers, they all had like the slight vibration when you would turn the steering. So that's normal. Don't worry about that. Again, this car is pretty much faultless. I will leave European Performance's information down in the description box, but thanks again for watching. Take care and goodbye.